On the day of the funeral, an oppressive silence suffocates the air. While Charlie, with a disturbing gaze, scribbles macabre images in her notebook and emits an unsettling tongue click, Annie delivers a heart-wrenching eulogy. Her voice breaks as she describes the tormented relationship with her mother, a bond scarred by dark secrets and buried resentments. Opening the boxes of Ellen's belongings, Annie finds a book on spiritualism containing a note written by her mother, a message that seems to whisper from beyond the grave. As she looks up, a chill runs down her spine. In a corner of the room, she swears she sees Ellen's ghostly silhouette, watching her from the shadows. A week later, the horror deepens. Steve discovers, with his heart pounding, that Ellen's grave has been desecrated, a sacrilegious act that defies reason. Annie, teetering on the edge of collapse, confesses in a support group the terrors that have haunted her family. Her father, consumed by psychotic depression, starved himself to death. Her brother, a schizophrenic at just 16, hanged himself in their mother's room, accusing her in a note of putting people inside him. With tears of anguish, Annie reveals how her mother, enraged at being kept away during Peter's pregnancy, manipulated her into letting her raise Charlie, as if the girl were a prize in a sinister game. Forced by Annie, Peter takes Charlie, who insists she still sees her grandmother in disturbing visions, to a party. There, fate strikes with cruel precision. Charlie suffers an anaphylactic shock after eating nuts. In a desperate race to the hospital, tragedy erupts. Gasping for air, Charlie leans out the car window, and in an indescribable moment of horror, a telephone pole decapitates her. The sound of the impact echoes like a scream in the night, plunging Peter and Annie into a nightmare from which they cannot awaken. To cope with the trauma, Annie, who has recreated the accident in a disturbingly detailed miniature, returns to the support group. There she meets Joan, a woman scarred by the loss of her son and grandson, both drowned in tragic circumstances. Visiting Joan's home, Annie's stomach knots as she notices a doormat identical to those her mother wove for the family, a detail that sparks an unsettling suspicion. With an eerie calm, Joan shares a terrifying story. During a sleepwalking episode, Annie doused herself and her children with turpentine and lit a match. Peter, awakened by the horror, has since believed his mother tried to kill them. Days later, Joan reappears with a blood-chilling proposal. She claims a medium contacted her grandson's spirit and convinces Annie to join a séance. In a ritual thick with tension, Charlie's spirit seems to manifest, its presence filling the room with an unnatural cold. Before Annie, trembling with fear and awe, leaves the house, Joan hands her a candle and a formula to summon spirits, urging her to perform the ritual if she wishes to reconnect with her daughter. The promise of reaching Charlie, even from beyond, becomes a temptation as terrifying as it is irresistible. In the dimness of her home, Annie awakens from a nightmare that tears her apart. In the dream, she confesses to Peter, her voice shattered by remorse, that she tried to abort him because she wasn't ready to be a mother. The weight of that truth haunts her like a specter. Determined to reach her lost daughter, Annie performs the spiritualist ritual with near desperate fervor. Charlie's spirit responds, but not with love. Sinister scribbles appear in her notebook, as if an invisible hand traced them from the beyond. Convinced she has contacted her daughter, Annie drags Peter and Steve into repeating the ritual. But what follows is horrifying. Charlie's spirit possesses Annie's body, turning her into a puppet of malevolent forces. Peter, caught in a whirlwind of panic, collapses, while Steve, believing his wife is having a hysterical breakdown, throws water in her face, breaking the trance with a scream that reverberates through the house. Yet the horror does not end. Peter begins to be tormented by disturbing visions and the same eerie tongue click that Charlie used to make, a sound that seems to stalk him from the shadows. Annie, horrified, discovers macabre drawings in Charlie's notebook depicting Peter's tear-streaked face, as if her daughter's spirit were marking him for a cruel fate. Convinced that Charlie's spirit is malevolent, Annie resolves to destroy the notebook in the fireplace. But as she casts it into the flames, a scream of agony tears from her throat. Her sleeve ignites instantly, as if a demonic force were punishing her. With trembling hands, she snatches the notebook from the fire, but fear consumes her. The next day, Annie, desperate, seeks out Joan, but the door to her house remains shut, as if sealed by a terrifying secret. On Joan's table, Annie glimpses a ritual triangle with a photo of Peter, his eyes scratched out, and hears Joan shouting incomprehensible phrases, ordering her to get out. Back at home, the horror intensifies. Among her mother's belongings, Annie finds a book about Paimon, a male demon desperate to possess a vulnerable man's body to be reborn. A photo album reveals a chilling truth, images of Joan with Ellen, as if they shared a dark pact. Climbing to the attic, Annie confronts a paralyzing sight. A headless corpse, which she believes to be her mother's, lies beside the symbol of Ellen's pendant, drawn in blood on the wall like an infernal seal. Meanwhile, Peter suffers a supernatural attack at school. An invisible force slams him against his desk, breaking his nose. Steve, distraught, brings him home, where Annie, on the brink of madness, reveals the corpse, Joan's connection, and Charlie's notebook. With tears of desperation, she begs him to throw the notebook into the fire, believing her sacrifice will end the nightmare and save Peter. But Steve, skeptical, refuses. Annie, mustering courage born of terror, hurls the notebook into the flames. Yet the horror reaches its climax. It is not she who burns, but Steve, who is consumed by a supernatural fire, reduced to ashes before Annie's eyes. Hours later, Peter awakens in a world he no longer recognizes. Pursued by his mother's possessed figure, he flees to the attic, where an infernal vision awaits, a photo of himself with his eyes erased, surrounded by candles and cult objects, as Annie, levitating, decapitates herself with a piano wire in a gruesome act. Naked figures, devotees of a sinister cult, watch from the shadows. Terrified, Peter leaps from the window, but upon regaining consciousness, he finds the family dog's corpse and begins making the same tongue click as Charlie, as if something within him were awakening. In Charlie's treehouse, the horror reaches its peak. Peter finds his sister's decapitated head, adorned with a crown, as Joan and other cult members surround him, revering him as if he were Charlie. With voices laden with worship, they proclaim him Paimon, one of the 8 kings of hell, finally freed from his female host. The truth pierces like a dagger. Ellen's plan from the beginning was to offer Peter's body to the demon, which had mistakenly incarnated in Charlie. The family, manipulated and sacrificed, was nothing more than a pawn in a demonic ritual that now claims its victory.